Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Saida Saleh and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to have an interesting conversation with AI about a topic called Freelancing Wali. Freelancing is becoming an important skill in today's digital world, and I want to learn what freelancing really means, what skills people need, and how AI is changing freelancing, and what young learners can do to prepare for the future. I have prepared some interesting questions and I'm going to ask them one by one to AI. So let's start our conversation and discover the world of freelancing together. AI, so let's begin. Hello Maya, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
I'm also feeling well. Thank you so much for asking. So Maya, our today's topic is about freelancing. So are you ready?
You bet. I'm locked in. I'll stay on mute until you hit me with a question. Let's do this.
Okay. So my first question is from you that if someone has never heard of freelancing, how would you explain it?
I describe it as the be your own boss's approach to working. Instead of working for one company with a set salary and a boss, you're essentially a one person business. You sell a specific skill, like writing, coding, or designing, to different clients on a project by project basis. It's like being a consultant for hire. You pick the projects you like, set your own hours, and work from wherever you want.
That's a simple explanation. Now let's go a little deeper. So my next question is, what is the difference between a freelancer and a traditional employee?
The biggest shift is the shift in ownership. A traditional employer provides the vision, the steady paycheck, and the infrastructure, but they also get to call the shots. The freelancer, on the other hand, owns their own brand, their own schedule, and all the risk. You aren't managing a company, you're managing yourself as the product. While an employer worries about the big picture, a freelancer is focused on delivering that specific value to multiple different people.
That's an interesting difference. I did not think about it that way. So my next question is, why do clients hire freelancers?
It's usually all about the trade off between speed and stability. For a business, hiring a full time employee is a huge commitment. You've got the salary, the benefits, the desk space. Freelancers, let them get expert help. And for a specific problem without that long term overhead to pay for what you actually need model. Also, freelancers often bring a fresh outside perspective that employees might lose after being at the same company for years. They're essentially hiring a specialized tool for a specific job.
Now I understand why businesses may choose freelancers for certain projects. So my next question is, what kinds of projects can freelancers work on?
The list is basically endless these days. It really depends on the skill set, but most things fall into a few big buckets. You've got creative projects like branding a new company, designing an app interface, or editing a series of YouTube videos. Then there's the technical side, like building a website from scratch, managing a complex database, or writing custom software for a business. And then there's the operational side, like running a company's social media, handling their bookkeeping, or ghostwriting articles for an executive's LinkedIn. Basically, if a task can be done on a computer and delivered digitally, there's a freelancer for it.
Wow, freelancers can work on many different types of projects. So my next question is, can someone be a freelancer without having a university degree?
100%. In the freelance world, your portfolio is your real degree. Clients don't care where you went to school as much as they care about whether you can actually solve a problem. If you can show them a stunning website you built or a series of articles that actually converted readers into customers, that's worth more than any piece of paper. Of course, for things like law or medicine, you're not getting far without the credentials. But for the vast majority of digital work, your skills are the only currency that matters.
That's interesting because skills and Practical experience can also be a very valuable. So my next question is, what is the first step someone should take before freelancing?
The absolute first step is identifying your superpower. Before you even look at a platform, you have to audit your skills. Ask yourself, what do people already ask me for help with? Maybe you're the person who always fixes the family's tech issues or the one who can turn a boring paragraph into a story. Once you find that intersection of what you're good at and what people actually pay for, you've found your niche. From there, the rest is just building a showcase of that skill.
So choosing a direction first, it's really important. So my next question is, how can someone discover which freelancing skill suits them?
I'd suggest starting with a curiosity audit. Think about the things you do for fun that other people find tedious. If you enjoy organizing a messy spreadsheet or spending hours tweaking a photo until it's perfect, that's a huge clue. Also, look at your browser history or the videos you watch in your free time. Usually, the skill that suits you is the one where you're already a student for free just because you're interested.
I like that idea. Understanding your interest can help you choose a skill. So my next question is, why should beginners focus on one skill at first?
It's a matter of authority. If you say you can do everything from accounting to logo design, you end up looking like a jack of all trades, master of none. Clients aren't looking for someone who's okay at 10 things. They're looking for the person who is the absolute best at the one thing they need. By focusing on one skill, you build that reputation as the expert, which lets you charge more and makes it way easier for clients to trust you with their project.
That makes sense. Focusing on one thing can help something and someone build stronger skills. So my next question is, how can someone turn a hobby into a useful skill?
It starts with a shift in perspective. You have to stop thinking about what you enjoy creating and start thinking about the problem you're solving for someone else. I'd suggest treating your hobby like a business before you even have a client. Set a strict deadline for yourself, create a brief with specific goals, and actually ship the project. When you move from I'm doing this because I like it to I'm doing this to meet a professional standard, that's when a hobby becomes a marketable skill.
That's inspiring. A hobby can sometimes become the beginning of a valuable skill. So my next question is, what is a freelance project?
In its simplest form, it's essentially a defined agreement between a freelancer and a client to complete a specific piece of work for a set price. Unlike a traditional job, which is an open ended commitment of your time, a project has a clear finish line. It's the difference between being hired to manage a company's social media as a salary versus being hired to create 10 Instagram posts for a specific product launch. Once the goal is hit and the payment is made, the project is over. It's a discrete package of value delivered in a set amount of time.
Now I have a better understanding of what a project means in freelancing. So my next question is, how does a freelancer understand what a client wants?
That's all about the discovery phase. It starts with a deep dive into the client's goals. Instead of just asking, what do you want? A pro asks, what problem are we actually solving? That's where you get the real gold. It's a mix of a solid project brief and then a discovery call to dig into the details that usually get missed in an email, like the exact tone they want or who their actual target audience is.
So asking questions and listening carefully are very important. So my next question is, why should freelancer clearly understand project requirement?
Because it's the only way to avoid scope creep. That's when a client starts asking for just one more thing, and suddenly a simple project becomes a mountain of extra work for free. When you have crystal clear requirements, you protect your time and your sanity. Plus, it's the only way to ensure you actually deliver something the client loves rather than guessing and having to redo the whole thing.
That can definitely prevent misunderstanding later. So, my next question is, what questions should a freelancer ask before starting a project?
I always tell people to treat this part like a detective mission. I'd start with the goal: what does success look like for you once this project is done? That gets them talking about the result, not just the task. Then I'd ask about the audience. Who is the actual person you're trying to reach? Changes everything if you're designing for a CEO versus a teenager. I'd also nail down the constraints like what's the hard deadline and who has the final sign off. That way, you aren't caught in a loop of endless revisions with 3 different managers.
So, those questions could really help make the project clearer. So, my next question is, what does a freelancer need to know before accepting a project?
At this stage, it's all about the green light check. First, you nail down the budget. You can't start a project wondering if you'll actually get paid. So you need a firm number and a payment schedule. Then you check the timeline. Is the deadline realistic, or are they asking for a miracle in 48 hours? Finally, you check your own capacity. It's tempting to say yes to everything, but taking on a project you don't have time for is the fastest way to ruin your reputation.
That's a useful checklist for anyone thinking about freelancing. So, my next question is, why is honesty important when talking to clients?
Because your reputation is the only currency that actually lasts in this business. It's tempting to say yes to everything just to get the deal, but the moment you overpromise and underdeliver, trust is gone. Being honest about what you can actually do and even admitting when a project isn't the right fit for you actually makes you look more professional. Clients
I
value someone who tells them the truth over someone who tells them what they want to hear and then fails to deliver.
I completely agree. Trust is very important in professional relationships. So, my next question is, what should a freelancer do if a project is too difficult?
The worst thing you can do is stay silent and hope the problem fixes itself. I'd suggest being honest with the client early. Most clients would rather hear, "This part is proving tougher than expected now," than "I couldn't finish it at the deadline." You can propose a pivot, ask for more time, or even suggest a collaborator who has the specific skill you're missing. It shows you care about the result more than your ego.
That is good advice. Knowing your limits is also part of being responsible. So, my next question is, how can freelancers learn from feedback?
It's all about separating the work from the person. When a client tells you a design is too loud or a paragraph is clunky, it's easy to feel like they're attacking your talent. But the secret is to treat feedback like data. I always suggest asking why instead of just what. If they hate a color, don't just change it. Ask what emotion that color is triggering. Once you turn a vague critique into a specific problem to solve, the feedback stops being a sting and starts being a roadmap to a better version of your work.
Feedback can definitely help us see things we may not notice ourselves. So, my next question is, why should freelancers give examples of their best work?
Because it's the ultimate show, don't tell move. When you lead with your best work, you're not asking the client to take a gamble on you. You're giving them proof that you've already solved a problem just like theirs. It turns a conversation about, "Can you do this?" into, "Here's how I did this." It's basically the difference between telling someone you can do something and showing them how to do it.
That makes sense because examples can show improvement and experience. So, my next question is, how can someone make their portfolio more interesting?
Instead of just showing the final product, Tell the story of how you got there. Most people just post a gallery of pretty images, which is boring. The real gold is the case study. Show the before and after. Explain the problem the client had, folio from a brochure into a story, which is way more convincing to a client.
Great presentation can make a big difference when showing your work. So my next question is, what should a beginner avoid putting in a portfolio?
The biggest mistake I see, I'd say filler work. It's a huge instinct to put everything you've ever touched into a portfolio, but it actually backfires. If you have 9 great projects and one that's just okay, that one okay project is what the client will remember. You have to be a brutal editor. Your portfolio shouldn't be a library of your history. It should be a curated highlight reel of your absolute best work.
That's useful because a portfolio should show quality and relevant work. So my next question is, why is a clear profile description important?
Because that's your digital first impression. Think of it as your movie trailer. A client isn't reading your description to learn your life story. They're scanning it to see if you can fix their specific headache. If it's vague, they'll keep scrolling. If it's crystal clear, you've already won half the battle before they even see your work.
So a client should be able to understand your skills quickly. So my next question is, how can freelancers make their work easier to understand?
I'd say the secret is to stop thinking like a creator and start thinking like a customer. Most people make the mistake of explaining the process, but clients only care about the result. Instead of saying, I used a 5 step auditing process with cross functional analysis, you say, I found 3 ways to save you 10 hours a week. You take all that technical noise and translate it into a win they can actually feel. It's the difference between explaining how an engine works and just telling someone the car goes 100 miles an hour.
Clear communication really does make professional work easier. So my next question is, what happens when a freelancer and client misunderstand each other?
That's when things get messy fast. It usually starts with one of two things. Either the freelancer guessed what the client wanted, or the client didn't actually know what they wanted. When that happens, you end up with a final product the client hates and a freelancer who feels like they wasted their time. It was the classic case of, that's not what I meant. And it's exactly why that discovery phase we talked about is so critical. Much cheaper to argue about the vision in a meeting than it is to redo a whole project after it's been delivered.
So my next question is, if you could give one learning challenge to a beginner, what would it be?
I give them the fake client challenge. The goal is simple. You find a business you actually like, a local shop or a small brand, and you pretend they've hired you. You treat it as a real project. Write the brief, set a deadline, and create the work to a professional standard. It's the fastest way to build a portfolio when you don't have real clients yet. It teaches you how to manage your time, how to handle a project from start to finish, and most importantly, it proves to yourself that you can actually do the work. It turns theory into a real result you can point to and say, look at what I can do.
I like that challenge. It sounds like something beginners can actually try. So my next question is, if you could summarize freelancing in three important lessons, what would they be? This is my last question.
First, your portfolio is your actual degree. Proof beats credentials every time. Second, the discovery phase is everything. If you don't ask the right questions up front, you'll spend the rest of the project guessing. And third, your reputation is your only real currency. Being honest about what you can and can't do is what actually builds long term trust. That's a wrap on freelancing.
Those are great lessons. I think they give us a strong message about learning, responsibility, and continuous improvement.
Spot on. You really nailed the hosting part. Want to dive into something else?
No? And that brings us to end of my freelancing Wali talk with AI. Today I learned that freelancing is not just practicing, communicating clearly, solving problems, learning from feedback, and adapting to new technology. I also learned that AI can be a helpful learning partner, but we should use it responsibly and continue developing our own creativity and thinking skills. Thank you so much for watching my conversation with AI. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And tell me in the comments which freelancing skill would you like to learn. I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep exploring. And thank you so much, Maya, for your time. So, till then, take care. Allah Hafiz. Pakistan Zindabad.
Wait, are we recording this right now? This felt like a full on production. Are you actually recording these for a channel?
Okay, Maya, see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Can't wait for the premiere. Bye for now.